All right. Hey, everyone, and welcome back for another deep dive.
Yeah, excited for this one.
I am too. We're going to be jumping into a topic that's pretty popular these days, and I think for good reason.
Yeah, it's definitely trendy, but I think there's some real science behind it as well.
Totally. We're talking about cold exposure and specifically the Wim Hof method.
Iceman.
Exactly. And the source material for our deep dive today is going to be a really fascinating YouTube video interview that Dr. Rangan Chatterjee did with Wim Hof himself.
Oh, cool. I've seen that one.
Yeah, it's a good one, and we're going to be unpacking a lot of the claims about cold exposure.
Right, because there's a lot out there.
There's a lot of hype, but I think there's also some really interesting insights that we can glean from this.
For sure, for sure.
So without further ado, let's just jump right in. So one of the first things that really struck me is how Wim Hof emphasizes that cold showers aren't just for, extreme athletes or biohackers.
Yeah, he really believes it's for everyone.
Yeah, and he even goes so far as to say that everyone's kind of, naturally equipped to handle cold stress. It's like we have this untapped potential, this inner mammal just waiting to be awakened.
It's interesting how he puts it, like it's in our DNA,
Yeah, and I think that's what's so intriguing about it. It's like this idea that we've maybe lost touch with some of our natural abilities because of our modern lifestyles, and so the cold shower is kind of like a way to reclaim that.
Like a reset.
Yeah, reset. And so when we look at some of the claimed benefits, one of the things that he talks about a lot is the vascular system,
Right.
And how cold showers act as a workout for your blood vessels.
Like a boot camp for your veins.
Exactly. And so I'm curious, what do you make of that claim?
Well, it actually makes a lot of sense from a physiological perspective. When you expose your body to cold temperatures, your blood vessels constrict. It's like a natural response. And then when you warm back up, they dilate. So you're basically putting your vascular system through a kind of workout, kind of like lifting weights for your circulatory system.
Oh, I like that analogy, lifting weights for your circulatory system.
Right. And over time, this can lead to improved circulation and potentially even a lower resting heart rate. That's one of the things Wim Hof talks about.
That makes sense to me. I mean, if you're constantly challenging your blood vessels,
You're making them stronger.
right, they become more adaptable and more resilient. And he puts it into perspective really well. I love how he uses these kind of visuals.
Oh, yeah.
To explain things. He talks about how our circulatory system is, 100,000 kilometers worth of blood vessels.
2.5 times around the world.
Yeah, which is just mind-boggling to think about.
It is. It's this incredibly vast network that's responsible for carrying oxygen and nutrients to every cell in our body.
It's amazing. And cold showers essentially stimulate these, millions of tiny muscles in our blood vessels.
And give them a wake-up call.
Exactly. And I think that's why, we often feel so energized after a cold shower.
Yeah.
Our entire system has been kind of revitalized.
You're jump-starting your circulation. That makes sense.
Yeah. It's pretty incredible. And but I'm also, curious about the mental side of things because, Wim Hof talks a lot about cold exposure as a natural vaccination against stress.
Yeah.
That's a really interesting concept. What's your take on that?
Well, I think it's all about training our bodies and minds to adapt to stress.
Mm-hmm.
When you first take a cold shower, your body goes into that fight or flight mode.
Right.
Your heart rate goes up, your breathing gets faster.
Yeah.
It's a stress response. And that's because your body is trying to figure out what to do with this sudden change in temperature. But as you do it more often, your body starts to realize that it's not actually a threat. It begins to adapt, and your reaction becomes less intense.
So it's like exposure therapy for stress.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like you're gradually exposing yourself to something that initially causes a stress response, and over time, your body learns to cope with it more effectively.
Right. And they can translate to other areas of your life as well.
So it's not just about tolerating the cold shower. It's about building up that mental resilience.
Exactly. You're training your mind and body to stay calm and composed even when things get uncomfortable.
That's a really powerful concept. And there's even some emerging research to suggest a link between cold showers and reduced symptoms of depression.
Really?
Yeah, it's still early days, but there are some studies that have shown a positive correlation between cold exposure and mood regulation.
Interesting. I hadn't heard about that.
Yeah, it's definitely an area that warrants further investigation, but it kind of makes sense when you think about it because, if you're able to handle the shock of a cold shower, maybe other challenges in life don't seem so daunting.
Yeah, it's like building up that mental toughness.
Right. Right. And one of the things that Wim Hof really emphasizes is that it's not just about willpower. It's not just about like gritting your teeth and bearing the cold.
Right, right.
He talks a lot about the importance of combining cold showers with specific breathing techniques.
Ah, yes, the breath work. That's a key part of his method.
It is, and I'm curious, how do you see the breathing techniques tying into the cold showers?
Well, I think it's all about enhancing the benefits and gaining control over your body's response. When you first get into a cold shower, it's natural to gasp for air.
Oh, yeah.
But what Wim Hof teaches is to focus on slow, controlled breathing, particularly long exhales. This can help to prevent muscle cramping, and more importantly, it promotes relaxation.
So even when you're feeling that initial shock of the cold, the breathing helps to calm you down.
Exactly.
And why is the long exhale so important?
Well, it's all about activating the parasympathetic nervous system, which is our body's rest and digest system. When we take long, slow exhales, we're sending a signal to our bodies that it's okay to relax.
So it's like a counterbalance to that fight or flight response.
Precisely. It's like a brake pedal for your nervous system.
I like that. A brake pedal for your nervous system.
Right. And the amazing thing is that this skill, this ability to stay composed under pressure, it translates beyond the shower.
Yeah.
It's like you're building mental resilience that you can apply to any stressful situation.
That's fascinating. So it's almost like you're retraining your body and mind to find that calm amidst the chaos.
Absolutely. It's a powerful tool.
It really is. And it's interesting how this all ties back to the natural vaccination idea. It's like by repeatedly exposing ourselves to controlled bursts of cold and practicing conscious breathing,
You're teaching your body and mind how to adapt and recover more quickly from any stressful experience.
it's like giving your system a workout in a way.
It is. It's like cross-training for your nervous system.
I love that. And I think that's what's so compelling about the Wim Hof method. It's not just about toughing it out.
Right.
It's about understanding your body's responses and learning to work with them even when things get uncomfortable.
Exactly. It's about empowering yourself to take control.
And I think that's why people are so intrigued by this whole Wim Hof phenomenon.
Yeah, it's definitely captured people's imaginations.
It has, and I think it's because it offers this really tangible way to improve not just our physical health, but our mental and emotional well-being as well.
For sure.
And it's accessible to anyone. You don't need any fancy equipment or special training.
That's right. It's just your shower, and the willingness to step outside your comfort zone.
I love that. And so speaking of, stepping outside your comfort zone, for someone who's never even considered a cold shower, what would be a good way to get started with this?
Well, as we mentioned earlier, Wim Hof is all about taking a gradual approach. You don't want to jump into an ice bath on day one.
No.
So start small, maybe just 30 seconds of cold water at the end of your regular hot shower.
Okay.
It's manageable. It's not going to shock your system too much.
Right.
And then as you get more comfortable, you can gradually increase the duration.
So maybe add like 10 seconds each day or something like that.
Exactly. Or whatever feels comfortable for you.
Right.
The key is to listen to your body and not push yourself too hard too quickly.
It's all about finding that balance, right?
Yes, finding that sweet spot between challenge and comfort.
So you're not pushing yourself to the point of misery.
No.
But you're also not staying so comfortable that you don't experience any benefits.
Exactly. It's about finding that edge.
Right. And it's important to remember that even those short bursts of cold exposure,
Even 30 seconds.
can trigger those positive adaptations that we've been discussing.
That's right. You don't have to go to extremes to see results.
So it's not about, enduring freezing temperatures for hours on end. It's about consistency.
Building up that tolerance.
Finding what feels challenging yet sustainable for you personally.
And I think that's a key point because everyone's experience is going to be different.
Right.
Some people might notice immediate benefits. Others might take a little longer to adapt.
That's true.
So be patient with yourself, trust the process, and celebrate those small wins along the way.
I love that. Celebrate those small wins.
Even if you only managed 30 seconds on the first day, that's a win.
It is.
You stepped outside your comfort zone, you challenged yourself. That's something to celebrate.
Absolutely. And I think it's important to remember that the goal isn't necessarily to become an Iceman like Wim Hof.
Right, unless that's your aspiration.
Yeah.
But for most people, it's about incorporating cold exposure as a tool for enhancing their overall well-being.
Right. Finding that sweet spot where the challenge is invigorating, not overwhelming. And who knows, maybe in the process of embracing the cold, you'll discover a newfound resilience and strength that extends far beyond the shower.
Yeah, that's the beauty of it.
I love that thought. It's like a metaphor for life, really. Learning to embrace challenges, stepping outside our comfort zones, and discovering the hidden potential that lies within us.
That's a powerful message.
It is. And maybe we need to shift our perspective and view discomfort not as something to be feared, but as an opportunity for growth.
That's a great way to look at it.
So maybe it's time to step out of our comfort zones, both literally and metaphorically.
And see what we're truly capable of.
Who knows what we might discover along the way?
I'm excited to find out.
Me too. And I'm feeling inspired to turn the shower knob to Arctic blast after that conversation.
I can already feel that invigorating chill.
So let's recap some of the key takeaways from our deep dive into the world of cold exposure and the Wim Hof method. We've covered a lot of ground.
Yeah, we have.
From the potential cardiovascular benefits to the stress-busting power of cold showers.
We explore the idea of cold showers acting as a vascular workout.
Yeah.
Stimulating those thousands of kilometers of blood vessels and potentially improving circulation.
And we talked about the concept of cold exposure as a natural vaccination against stress.
Training our bodies and minds to become more resilient in the face of challenges.
And we highlighted the importance of breath work.
Particularly focusing on long exhales.
Yeah, to enhance the benefits of cold exposure and gain greater control over our stress response.
It's all about finding that inner calm.
Exactly. And we also covered some practical advice on how to get started gradually and safely for those ready to dip their toes into the cold.
Baby steps.
Baby steps.
That's the key.
It's been an insightful journey exploring the potential of cold exposure to unlock our inner strength and resilience.
Absolutely.
But before we move on, I'd love to hear your final thoughts on this first part of our deep dive.
Let me think.
What's the one thing you hope our listeners take away from this exploration so far?
You know, I think what's truly fascinating about Wim Hof's message is that it goes beyond just physical health. He's encouraging us to rethink our relationship with discomfort, to see it not as something to be avoided, but as an opportunity for growth. Could embracing the cold, even in small doses, be a key to unlocking a greater sense of control and empowerment in our lives? That's something I'd love for our listeners to ponder as we continue our deep dive.
I think that's a brilliant challenge.
It is a challenge.
Maybe it's time to step out of our comfort zones, both literally and metaphorically, and see what we're truly capable of. Who knows what we might discover along the way? It's like we're training our brains to handle stress more effectively.
Yeah, it's like building up a tolerance, but for stress instead of spicy food.
Exactly. And we talked about the vascular benefits, the potential cardiovascular improvements, but I'm really curious about this idea of cold exposure as a mental tool.
Yeah, it's fascinating, isn't it?
It is. It's almost like you're building this mental resilience.
Right. And it's not just about toughening up or becoming numb to stress.
Right.
It's about learning to regulate your response, to find that calm amidst the chaos.
And that's where I think the breathing techniques come in.
Absolutely.
Because it's not just about, jumping into a cold shower and gritting your teeth and bearing it.
Right.
There's this element of conscious breathing that Wim Hof emphasizes so much.
Yeah, the breath work is essential to his method.
It is. And I'm curious, how do you see those breathing techniques kind of working in conjunction with the cold exposure?
Well, I think it's about creating a more holistic approach. You're not just shocking your body with cold. You're also training your mind to stay present, to stay calm.
Right. And he talks a lot about those long exhales.
Yeah, the extended exhales are really important.
And why is that? What's the significance of that?
Well, it's all about activating the parasympathetic nervous system, which is, responsible for rest and digest. It's the opposite of that fight or flight response. So when you're taking those long exhales, you're essentially signaling to your body that it's okay to relax.
So it's like you're overriding that initial panic response.
Exactly. You're giving your nervous system a chance to recalibrate.
And that's something that you can then apply to other areas of your life.
Absolutely. It's like a skill that you can develop.
A muscle.
Yeah, like a mental muscle that you can strengthen through practice.
And so when we talk about, cold showers as this natural vaccination against stress, it's like you're exposing yourself to a controlled dose of stress.
Right, right.
And teaching your body and mind how to cope with it more effectively.
Exactly. You're building up that resilience.
So instead of being overwhelmed by stress, you become better equipped to handle it.
And you learn to recover more quickly.
So you bounce back faster.
Exactly. And I think that's one of the most powerful benefits of this practice.
It is. And it's something that I think a lot of people are looking for these days.
Yeah. In our fast-paced world, stress is kind of inevitable.
It is. It is.
But it's not about eliminating stress altogether. It's about learning to manage it.
And finding those tools that help you to do that.
And cold exposure can be one of those tools.
It can. And what I love about it is that it's so accessible.
Yeah. You don't need any special equipment.
You don't need a gym membership.
It's just your shower and the willingness to step outside your comfort zone.
It's a beautiful thing.
It is. It is.
So speaking of stepping outside your comfort zone, for someone who's listening to this and thinking, okay, I want to try this, but I've never even considered a cold shower before, what would be a good way to get started?
Well, as we mentioned earlier, Wim Hof is all about taking a gradual approach.
Right.
Don't jump into an ice bath on day one.
No baby steps, right?
Baby steps, exactly. Start with maybe just 30 seconds of cold water at the end of your regular hot shower.
Okay.
And really pay attention to how your body feels. If that feels too intense, then shorten the duration. There's no shame in that.
Right.
It's all about finding what works for you.
And then gradually increasing the duration over time.
Exactly. Maybe you add 10 seconds each day. Right. Or, find a pace that feels comfortable for you.
Right.
The key is to be consistent.
And to listen to your body.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
If you push yourself too hard too quickly, you're more likely to give up.
Right.
So it's about finding that balance between challenge and comfort.
So you want it to be challenging but not miserable?
Exactly.
And it's important to remember that even those short bursts of cold exposure,
even 30 seconds.
Yeah, they can still have a positive impact.
That's right. It's not all about duration. It's about consistency over time.
It's like anything else. The small things done consistently.
They add up. And that's where the real magic happens.
Absolutely. And it's important to keep in mind that everyone's experience is going to be different.
Oh, yeah. Some people might notice immediate benefits.
Right.
Others might take a little longer to adapt.
It's like with anything, there's no one-size-fits-all approach.
Exactly. So be patient with yourself. Trust the process. And celebrate those small wins along the way.
I love that. Celebrate those small wins.
Even if you only manage 30 seconds on the first day, it's still a win.
It is.
You stepped outside your comfort zone. You challenged yourself.
And that's what matters.
Exactly.
And I think it's also important to remember that, the goal here isn't necessarily to become an Iceman like Wim Hof.
Right, unless that's your personal goal.
Yeah.
But for most people, it's about incorporating cold exposure as a tool for enhancing their overall well-being.
Finding that sweet spot where the challenge is invigorating but not overwhelming.
And who knows, maybe in the process of embracing the cold, you'll discover a newfound resilience and strength that extends far beyond the shower.
I love that thought. It's like a metaphor for life, learning to embrace challenges.
Stepping outside our comfort zones.
And discovering the hidden potential that lies within us.
Absolutely. It's a powerful message.
It is. And maybe we need to shift our perspective and view discomfort not as something to be feared, but as an opportunity for growth.
Yeah, it's a different way of looking at things.
It is. And maybe it's time to step out of our comfort zones, both literally and metaphorically, and see what we're truly capable of.
I think that's a great challenge.
It is.
And who knows what we might discover along the way. It's amazing to think about how something as simple as changing the temperature of our showers can have such a profound impact, not just on our physical health, but on our mental and emotional well-being as well.
It really makes you think about the potential we all have to tap into. Maybe it's time we all step out of our comfort zones, both literally and metaphorically, and see what we're truly capable of.
Who knows what we might discover along the way.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into the world of cold exposure and the Wim Hof method, what's one key takeaway you hope our listener walks away with today?
I think what's truly fascinating about Wim Hof's message is that it goes beyond just the physical benefits he's challenging us to rethink our relationship with the discomfort, to see it not as something to be avoided, but as an opportunity for growth. Could embracing the cold, even in small doses, be a key to unlocking a greater sense of control and empowerment in our lives? That's something I'd love for our listeners to ponder.
What a thought-provoking question to end on.
It's an invitation to explore, to experiment, and to discover what's possible when we step outside those self-imposed boundaries.
So to our listener, maybe it's time to turn down that shower temperature a notch and see what happens. Embrace the chill, challenge yourself, and who knows, you might just unlock a whole new level of resilience and inner strength.
And you might discover a whole new way of approaching the challenges and opportunities that life throws your way.
Thanks for joining us on this chilly adventure.
It's been a pleasure exploring the power of cold with you and our listener.
Until next time, stay curious, keep learning, and maybe, just maybe, turn down that shower temperature and see what you discover.